Hello and welcome to Authors Showcase. I'm Reno Lovison, the Executive Director at Authors Broadcast, and I'm here today with author Cary Berman, who is the author of Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs. And Cary's going to share with us a little bit about the medical challenge that he's dealing with. And he's also going to tell us a little bit about how that journey has affected his life. And we're all looking forward to the book, which is going to be coming out very shortly. And Cary, I'm really glad that you're here with me today.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. And I think we'll just have a little bit of a conversation. But one of the things, I did get a chance to look at your book, and I did look through it. And it's first of all, it's a devastating medical challenge that you have for many people, or it can be, and I think it's great that your take on it and how you're dealing with it.
Infants who have this disease, it's terminal by age 4. And when I was diagnosed, when I learned I had it, by coincidence, I found out I was 1 in 250 in the world. There's more now, but at the time, they didn't know about this condition. And if my mom would have had an amniocentesis test, I could have been aborted. So,
okay. Well, we're glad you're here with us.
I'm glad I'm here.
Exactly. Now, the little research that I did and a couple of friends that I spoke with for our audience at home and watching this on the internet may or may not know that Tay-Sachs is a disease disorder, a medical challenge that affects the Jewish population, particularly of Eastern European descent or Ashkenazi Jews,
That's
right?
correct.
And so I assume you fall into that.
I actually found out that I did some Jewish genealogy when I found out I had this medical challenge. And I found out that my real name is not Berman, it's Berilovich. Okay. It's from Lithuania. I had a great uncle marry a first cousin that messed up the genes, and that's what did.
That's where it came from. I spoke to a friend of mine who had informed me that now that in the Jewish community, we're here, as I think I mentioned earlier, we're broadcasting from the Roots Room on Chicago's northwest side near Kimball and Foster, very near West Rogers Park, which is a big Jewish community. And a friend of mine here was telling me that the kids in this community, or in the Jewish community generally, get tested at birth.
That is correct.
And then they get a marker that says whether they carry the gene or not, and then they're encouraged not to marry or have children with other people who also are carriers of the gene.
Marino, that's how I discovered I had it. That's how I discovered I was a carrier. In 1985, I took a genetics test to see if I was a carrier in Buffalo Grove, and it was a doctor, Madeline, and he said, "Mr. Berman, I've never seen this before in my life. It looks like you're not a carrier. It looks like you have the disease, but," he said, "you can't have the disease. You'd be dead." I said, "Doctor, I think I'm alive." So I'm glad to be alive. But
yeah. And thus is the reason why what you have is characterized as late onset Tay-Sachs, right? Or LOX.
What I have is not terminal. Mine's neurodegenerative. There's a lot of people in my condition who have my condition who are in wheelchairs. I like to say right now, I have great empathy for those suffering from infantile Tay-Sachs and the families, because it is a terminal condition. It's basically a fat in the brain, and there's no enzyme to dissipate the fat. It accumulates, and in babies, very quickly, it attacks the central nervous system. Mine, the same concept, only it doesn't go as quickly, and it's not terminal. It's neurodegenerative.
Mm-hmm.
So people with MS or MD, they might have this gene. It's easy for a blood test to get screened.
That's right, exactly. And the good news, again, what I understand about the infantile aspect of the disease is that because of the genetic testing today, that they are able to sort of steer people away from it, and it's not quite as rampant as it was, say, 20, 30 years ago.
Actually, in non-Jewish families, it's more rampant. There was a Jewish doctor who developed a test, and 90% of the cases now for infantile are not Jewish. There's some Spanish, there's some Irish, there's Chinese, there's everything.
Okay.
Because it's more predominant in Jews, that's why they developed the test. But now the new cases are usually not Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so something to be aware of just generally.
Right.
But, you know, what the beauty of genetic testing today is that more and more we're getting to peek into these things that affect our lives and find ways to deal with it. And of course, that's what we're going to talk about here today is, how you've come to deal with this medical challenge that you have, and we'll talk about that in a second. What I wanted to start with was something just on a lighter side for a minute. Okay. Is to, again, say, here we are live at the Roots Room at Kimball and Foster, which is just around the corner from North Park University now.
That's right.
And I understand that's your alma mater.
That's my alma mater.
Yeah, and you were accounting major.
Is that North Park had a very good pre-law department. I am a lawyer because of that. The accounting, I'm not too good in accounting, I put in 1 + 1 is 3 as I'm concerned. So what was interesting in North Park, I was the only Jewish student at North Park College, and I got the highest grade in Christian ethics. Figured that out. My friends all laughed at me. But
you were paying attention.
I was paying attention.
Yeah.
But
and it was interesting to you, I'm sure.
And I think the big thing in the book is I am Jewish, but I say really that God's greatest creation is man. And we all have to get along together. Because if we don't get along, none of us will be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I say there's Jewish, there's Christian, there's Muslim, there's Hindu, there's Baha'i, and a host of others. As I put in the book, a lot of roads. I'm not good on directions, but there's a lot of them. And let's all work together. And I'm trying also to have my case, but also unification. And I think we all have to be unified as human beings.
I think, that's a great humanistic message. I tend to think along the same lines, and I think it's great that we have so much more in common than what separates us. If you and I thought about this more, we could even equate this to this little genetic differences, that people have. But, we concentrate on the things that are so meaningless, it seems. So.
In my life, I do not believe in the concept of coincidence. I put that in the book. And I believe if we talked a little longer, we would find a commonality.
Absolutely, always.
We already have North Park College.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But the more we talk, the more we're going to find a commonality.
Yeah, and if we can just get the rest of the world to think along the same lines, that would be great.
I think I put areas of no coincidence in my book, and there's areas and areas and areas. I have stories, and I have friends of all faiths, all religions. We're all in this together, Renaud.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this week we just had the pictures coming back from Pluto. Did you see some of those?
No, I did not.
Oh, you didn't? I mean, it's a big deal. The spaceship's been out there, whatever they call it. It's been out there for 9 years now, finally just past Pluto. So, I mean, the universe is shrinking. Our world is shrinking. We really need to learn how to get along together. But we'll probably have to expound on that further at another time. I think we're here to talk about your book. Again, I want to remind viewers that it's Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs is the name of the book, and you will be able to find it at Infinity Publishing, and you'll be able to find it probably at Amazon and by Googling the title. So, and we'll put information at Authors Broadcast about the book as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is about your journey with living with Tay-Sachs and the late onset Tay-Sachs that you have. But before we do that, this is one of those times when we'll break away just for a second so that we can maybe show a book trailer and maybe show a message from one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the book, okay?
You're talking to me.
Very good. Understanding Other People, the 5 Secrets to Human Behavior. How to stop being frustrated by the actions of others and start taking charge of your own life and reactions. In many relationships, people give away their power several times each day because they don't understand the secrets to why other people do what they do. In this book, you'll learn how to deal effectively with difficult people, how to excel in personal and business communications, how to understand what people are really saying, and how to recognize how you can get hooked by others. Then you'll learn how to unhook. In a fast-paced and competitive world, where effective communication is essential to success, this book stands out as an easy-to-read, practical resource for helping you become someone who truly understands people. Order your copy today. Hope Bradford has years of experience in transpersonal hypnosis and teaching the law of attraction. However, she could never have imagined the singular psychic event that would transform her life when hypnosis client Lena Lee spontaneously channeled Eastern deity of compassion Kuan Yin. While under hypnosis, she revealed the deity's immutable teachings on the law of attraction. Witness and transcriber to these sessions, Hope Bradford has distilled the original treatise, bringing you Kuan Yin's message. In the pages of this book are true inspirational stories exemplifying the beneficial law of attraction, the manifestation teachings. Okay, so we're back here with our author today on Author Showcase, who is Cary Berman, and he is the author of Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs, and as we talked in the previous segment, is actually the medical challenge that he has is actually late onset Tay-Sachs, which we talked a little bit about earlier. And we can, talk about the disorder, we could talk about the disease, the medical challenge, whatever you want to talk about. But I think what's more importantly is really how it's affected your life. And I think that's really what I got out of looking at your book, right, is the journey and how are you dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, and how has it really affected you and your friends and your family. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the first thing I'd like to expound upon is the name Genesis. First of all, it's my favorite band. Second of all, this is a disease I've had since the beginning of my life. And it's also in Hebrew. Everyone has a certain chapter that says mine is Genesis. So it's a very apropos word for me. Now you say in my life, I tend to look at it as actually, I've not met anyone who does not have a challenge in life. This is my challenge. And I believe it's allowed me to overcome and go higher. I believe you could have two choices. You could let it rule your life or take control of it. Act actively or passively. I am not a very passive person. I want to take active control. I have this, and I'm going to try to beat it. Whether I can or not, that's a different story. But my mindset is to try to beat it.
Exactly. Yeah. And beat it, of course, people tend to think in terms of, I'm going to make it go away.
Live with it.
Exactly.
I'm going to have it the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I figured that that's what you meant, because I know that you realize it's not the kind of thing that you can make disappear. And that's a lot of times, is the challenge that people have. They would just want this to go away from your life. But I think there's a certain freedom that I get from you, from what I saw in your book, that once you embrace what it is that you're dealing with and make it part of your life, that now you can begin to live with it. And it sounds like you've done a good job of doing that.
Well, that's why I refer to it as a medical challenge, not a disease. In fact, when I first met a nutritionist, Susanna Zimmerman, of blessed memory, she told me, she went through all my food and got a bag to give charity, and she said, do not refer to it as a disease. It is a medical challenge.
I like that. Yeah.
And a challenge, and that's just a challenge. Everyone in life has challenges. Yeah. This is mine.
Right. And I think I always like to say that too, when you meet somebody out on the street, or in course you're going about your business, and someone's in a bad mood, or they're having some sort of issue, and you think, what's wrong with that person? And you never know what really people are dealing with. And if you really, stop to talk about to a lot of people, you would you'd be ashamed of yourself for being upset with someone, because everyone's walking through life with baggage and things that they have to deal with, and I think you're an inspiration because you are dealing with the kind of challenge that a lot of people dread, and I think you're a great inspiration to showing people how you're dealing with it. I'd like to say another thing.
I'm very lucky. I don't dwell on what I don't have. I dwell on what I do have. There's a lot of people I have a lot better than other people. A lot of people, I said motivation, inspiration. I think we could rise above. Everyone in different levels. We're all on different levels. But at that level, we could do the best we can. I'm trying to do the best I can, and not let it control my life.
And I think you're doing a great job of it. Especially, listen, a lot of people, the idea of sitting down and writing a book is a challenge enough, and to have to sit down and organize your thoughts and do, what you've done, I think is a great tribute to you. So tell me a little bit, one of the things you talked about in your book was this spiritual experience that you get from the mikvah, from the ritual bath. Maybe you can explain to our viewers a little bit about what a mikvah is, and how that how you use it, how it affects your life.
A mikvah is kind of like holy water. Like a baptism in the water. It's water that's holy, and I believe in developing a relationship with above. And what it is when I first went in, it was just like taking a bath. It was just water. Now, about 15 years, I feel like a tingling when I go in. And I figure I'm just developing a relationship. You develop a relationship with your parents. They love all their children, but some are more special than others because there's a relationship between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my relationship with above. I also wear blue. That's for a spiritual reason. I have a chapter of the color blue in the book. That's for a spiritual reason. Also, water is blue, and I'm very much into water. Part of the reason I say mikvah, it's so powerful for me, is it's very spiritual cleansing. And water is a modality that's either could be liquid or it could be ice. And in liquid, you could have change. You can't have change when it's ice. So I think we all go in. I want to spiritually change things, and I found it to be very effective because I'm not taking almost no medication.
Wow.
And that's what it is. I feel I'm starting to develop a relationship which anyone can develop. It's just you have to work hard.
Yeah, and I think the idea of water and the way that it encompasses your body and it's soothing. And,
water is life.
Exactly.
Water is life.
Yeah, I mean we're 98% water ourselves.
We're water, and I can't think of life existing without water. Food,
exactly.
Everything is water.
But the idea that you've brought this into sort of taking this spiritual aspect of it and really incorporated it as part of how you deal with your challenge, I think is a interesting part of the book that everyone
water,
should read.
I have a little bit of water right now.
Exactly. All right. So when you read Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs, you will learn more about how this relationship with water has really affected Cary and how it has helped him.
In fact, I have a
deal with
chapter,
this
The
challenge.
Power of Water. Chapter 10 is The Power of Water.
The other thing I wanted to hear a little bit about is also your friends. Whenever you find yourself dealing with the medical challenge, it also affects the people around you. And I know that you've devoted a good amount of your book, several chapters, to individual people in your life.
Oh, that's my friends. They're all races. They're all religions. They're all, and no man is an island. And we have a challenge from above, but we also gave us ways to meet that challenge. And I could not have done it without my wife, without my friends, without my family.
We all need that support group.
Absolutely.
And not just not simply just a support group, but it's
really my life.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times I feel good now. There were times where I'm 165 pounds now right now, which is about my weight. I was down. Several months ago, I was down to 142 pounds. I couldn't lift up luggage that was 50 pounds. Now I'm taking 50 pounds in each hand and doing it. So I've seen a tremendous difference. What exactly it is, it's my speculation. Just like I say, I very much believe in a being above. Some do not, and let's agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I respect their view. I hope they respect mine.
Sure.
That's
exactly right, and I think respect is a big part of it. And we all find our spiritual interaction manifests itself in many different ways with different kinds of people. And I think you're right. We all just need to respect each other and understand that. So let's take another quick break. And then we're going to come back, and I'm going to have you talk a little bit more about the book, and I have a couple of ideas. So let's come back in just a second, okay? Wow, this awesome feel-good book reveals why cool super chefs and health nut docs are dishing about the extraordinary powers of olive oil, nature's liquid gold. Savor deliciously healing surprises. New research deserves high fives because olive oil, a key ingredient in the Mediterranean diet, and other healing oils are making a big splash around the globe. Oil superpowers can lower the risk of facing a bad ticker, the big C, and even stall Father Time. Bring on the butter. When paired with oils, this 20th century forbidden fat is a new 21st century health food. Combining olive oil with other oils can help combat fatigue, fight fat, and help you morph into a lean, energized superhumanoid at any age. In the healing powers of olive oil, you'll discover unusual home cures and scrumptious, yummy, fresh ingredient recipes. Pick up your favorite bottle of EVO and experience the delicious healing powers of olive oil today. Olive oil, bon appetit! And we're back here on Author Showcase talking to author Cary Berman, whose book is Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs. And as we've talked in the previous segments, Cary has explained to us a little bit about what Tay-Sachs is and how it's been affecting his life and why he wrote this book to really sort of encourage people living with other medical challenges or really any kind of challenges, right, in their lives, how they can overcome those challenges and not to let them rule your life. And I think that's where you're really an inspiration to everybody. And I think this book is going to be a great inspiration to everybody.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. So, so tell me again a little bit. You wanted to talk a little bit more about sort of the spiritual aspect of your journey. So please tell me.
I would say I'm not so religious, I'm very spiritual. I'm a very spiritual person. I go to a synagogue, a small synagogue I helped found called Or Simcha, Orsimcha, and it's in Wilmette, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
It's very small, but there's a lot of spirit. And I think religion divides, spirituality unites. I get along very well with spiritual people of any faith. We get along. I think that's been a very big part. I think my faith, I think everyone's faith, I think during difficult times has gotten me through the time.
So that you feel that's an important part of getting through, any kind of challenges that people have in their life is
have something. For me, it's faith. Someone else might have something else. I'm not saying what it's got to be. Mm-hmm. I'm saying what it is for me. It's been for me. Mm-hmm. My faith has been very important. I have a big chapter in that. My friends have been very important. My family's been very important. I also have another concept that runs through the whole book. There's no coincidence. And I delineate several instances where I found odds are 1 in a trillion that would happen. It just seems to happen. And I think, in fact, I met my wife. It was set up through my mother. And she's from El Salvador. And it worked out.
Your wife, not your mother.
Right? Sorry, my wife is from El Salvador. my mother set us up.
Okay,
and,
nice. Did I see that in the book, or was that on your website or something? It was a little bit in the book.
No, it's in the book.
Yeah. But what Jewish mother isn't out trying to set up her son?
Well, I was 44 years old at the time. I thought I'd never get married.
Yeah.
And this just happened, and I said, Mom, you're setting me up? Right. Well, Mom is right.
Yeah.
Mom knows best.
Yeah. And she did a good job.
She did a very good job.
Good.
My wife has been an angel in my life.
Excellent. And, of course, that's an important part of getting through any kind of challenge, too. Again, we talk about support, but, having some support from somebody, a spouse, somebody, that you're intimately close with, I think is very important.
She got married. She could easily have said, Cary, that's too much. It's for when they give a vow, for better, for worse. She's had some very bad. Hopefully now it's going to be very good. Mm-hmm. But she's went through the bad. Hopefully now she'll go through some good.
That's great. Well, that's great. That's amazing. So what's the one thing, again, we're talking about Cary's book, Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs, which will be available at Infinity Publishing website very soon, and you'll be able to Google and find it for sure, and you can also look at authorsbroadcast.com. We'll have information about it there as well. So what would you really like people to know about this book? Why should somebody who's maybe doesn't have Tay-Sachs but maybe has other struggles in their life, what do you hope that they'll find in this book, and why should they pick it up and get it?
Well, I think this book wears a lot of hats. I think my struggle is unique. I'm one in 250 in the world. But everyone, has challenges, whether albeit medical, financial, familial, or some other purpose. They all have struggles. I've never met one person in my life who doesn't have a challenge of some type.
Absolutely.
This is kind of a spiritual GPS, how to go through challenges. This is how I do it. Obviously, other people have different things that are important to them. Mm-hmm. I've had difficulty. I've also been very blessed with family, with friends. That I've had a good support system, and my faith, and all of them combined have been a very good support system, and which I've had to rely on several times, and they've not let me down. So.
That's great. So faith and friends, that's what they take away from this.
Faith, friends, and family.
Yeah. Faith, friends, and family. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Perfect. And we still have maybe a couple of minutes left. So tell me just give me sort of a typical day, like sort of what happens. How does this challenge that you're dealing with manifest itself on your daily routine, and then what do you do to sort of deal with it? Say on a typical day.
I have a lot of time. I've been on disability for 5 years, and I'm a public defender. I won the first case in Illinois on a murder case, on a racial discrimination issue. I cannot tolerate that, and I won the first case in Illinois. But for a while, I couldn't even understand what they tell me to the judge. I've been on disability 5 years. So my day now, I have a lot of time to think and a lot of time to improve myself. I think time is very important, and time is precious. And I kind of make an analogy to an orange. I want to squeeze all the juice out of it as I can. And because once you have a second go by, you'll never get it back again in your life.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's another inspirational message that, unfortunately, it takes a lot of times for people to be dealing with something as severe as a challenge like you have before they start to realize that, we really need to wake up every day and pay attention to the fact that, we're so lucky to have a day. I think it's great to have someone like you to come and remind people that, hey, you don't have to wait until something terrible happens in your life. You have an opportunity today to do something.
Well, it's kind of,
make a change.
I'm not focusing. I thank you. The challenge. I'm focusing on what I have, not what I don't have.
Yeah.
And now, let's say I have a headache. I'm not saying, oh my God, I have a headache. I'm thinking, my God, everything is working good.
Yeah.
We are very egoist. We think about ourselves. Our bodies are miracles. And let's say we have a little pain that takes our whole life. How about your breathing? Everything is working well. We have to appreciate what we have.
Yeah.
Not what we don't have.
Your glass is half full kind of a guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I tend to be the same way.
That's right.
So I think and that's a great way to go through life. Personally, I agree with you on that. So. With the last couple minutes we have, I'm going to remind people that we are watching Authors Showcase, and it's seen on Channel 25 on Chicago Cable. You can also see it on YouTube and at our website, authorsbroadcast.com. And if you would go to meetup.com, I'll put on the screen here, meetup.com/authors showcase. You can come down here to the Roots Room and meet some authors in person and ask some questions and that sort of thing. So we encourage you to do that. So engage with us at meetup.com/authors showcase. Engage with us at authorsbroadcast.com, and look for us on YouTube and on Channel 25 in Chicago on the Author Showcase television show, which is what we are broadcasting right now. I will remind you that our guest today is Cary Berman. He is the author of Genesis, Born with Tay-Sachs. These half hours always go very quickly. I always enjoy talking to people, but I was really looking forward to meeting you. I could tell right away with the short conversation that we had that you were a great guy to know. I enjoyed reading your book.
I enjoyed it.
And it was so good to see you. And I hope that it's a huge success for you, and I know that you'll continue to be an inspiration to everybody.
Thank you,
again, thanks to Cary Berman for being our guest today, and keep reading. How would you like to find a better way to help your web visitors quickly understand who you are, what you do, and why they need your product or service? The internet is rapidly transitioning into a video platform, and your potential clients really just want somebody to show and tell them what you have to offer and assure them that they're in the right place. Reno Lovison Marketing specializes in video production for growing businesses. Please take a look at our website, check out some of the videos that we've produced, and then contact me with a few details about your project.